I can work easy 70 or 80 hours a week and not get tired because I'm working those hours around the family and I'm not missing out on family time because I'm a night owl. And so I can do so much when all the kids are down, Carrie's, going to bed. I guess get stuff done. And I don't like working that many hours all the time, right? But I feel like if you were to put me in a 40-hour-a-week job, I was thinking about this yesterday, a corporate job, and I got to drive through traffic and then sit at a corporate desk, and then I come home tired and I spend a couple of tired hours with my kids. So I don't think I could do that. I think that would be far more exhausting.
Well, before I was in the brigade, I was in a corporate job. I was in a corporate job from when I was 18 to 31. It was very successful. My market worth was huge. I went and started my own business. My market worth got even bigger. And then I joined the brigade. And that was not about the money. That was about the time with the family. And now that I'm still stood down 3.5 years later, I've had job offers, but people want me to come 5 days a week, and I will not go back into an office 5 days a week. So it would only be 3.5 days a week max for me in an office, but I want to be outdoors. Like, I get it now why there's guys that they work outdoors most of their life. It's a beautiful thing, but yeah, I could not sit at a desk anymore. In fact, on Monday, I spent from, I think it was 8 o'clock in the morning till about 6 at night. I was just on the computer and the phone at home all day. And I said to Caitlin, I just couldn't do this again 5 days a week. It would kill me. There's no way.
Yeah. And you talk about your family time and the importance of the family with your work and working with them.
Yeah.
Like, how much of a value can you put on that? Because from a certain standpoint, you're saying, well, you had a great net worth at your corporate job, and then now you're thinking about the family side, and it's like, what value is there? You couldn't put it on a spreadsheet.
Well, no one's ever going to lie on their deathbed and say, I wish I spent more time in the office. They're always going to wish they spent more time with the family. So, I don't know. I always think hard about those big decisions, and there's a lot of stuff I don't get right, but that's one of the things I know I got right, because that 9-year-old I mentioned, Imi, she was born in the May of 2015, and I started with the brigade in the August of 2015. So, I've been home every day of her life. I've seen her. I've never had a job while she's been little where there's 2 day shifts out of 8 where I was up early and home late, and that's it. But I was around her 6 out of 8 days. And the bond I have with that kid, and I have a good bond with all my kids, but it's especially great with her because I've been around so much. And that was set up over years. We made decisions around what we wanted as a family very early on. And so to any young guys and girls out there, if you've got, a hope for what you want for your future, lay the foundation really early.
Were there moments in that transition from corporate to residential homesteading to being on the farm that you're on now with acreage that you doubted the decisions that you'd made, and you were like, oh my goodness, have I set I thought I was doing the right thing, but have I set my family up for failure because now we have this debt, or we can't make ends meet, there's not enough food, we didn't plan something right? Like, was there moments of that self-doubt?
No, because in 2003, we'd been married a year, I think, and all of our friends were buying their first homes. And I think at that stage we had $80,000 saved, which was a really good home deposit back then, because the houses we were looking at were about $330,000 to $350,000. And
let's just stop and remember that. Remember that time. 300.
Yeah.
It sounds fake. It sounds like you're lying. Like, no, houses are never that cheap.
I know.
Oh, man. Dear.
So I look back at that time and I think, had we bought a house then and taken on debt, we could have owned many homes. But we actually I put that money into a business myself while I was still working full time. We took some risks there, but they were very calculated. We knew we had a client before we even had to purchase stock. and they were a serious client that we could sell a lot to. And I just worked really hard for my 20s and my early 30s. And when we finally did buy our first home in 2011, we bought it outright because we saved. And it wasn't just that we saved really hard, we managed our outgoings better than anything else. And we put an Instagram post up just last week around how we survive as a family of 7 with no full-time income. Well, the whole thing, the whole reel is about the things that we do that save us money: growing our own food, homeschooling our kids, all our own heat and water and all that sort of stuff. But those foundations were laid early. We got married, and I remember our yearly expenses for rent and everything that we were paying at the time was $46,000. By the time we had 2 kids and a lot more things going on, we were still only at 48,000. We just managed our outgoings. Like we tried not to pay for entertainment, and we tracked every dollar we spent, and we knew exactly where it was going, and we would negotiate our insurances and all that sort of stuff because we had a goal for our family. We didn't want to be enslaved to debt, and we didn't own fancy stuff, and we didn't have any habits that cost us a lot of money. So I raced motocross, and that's an expensive sport, but I was doing all this work for Honda for their motorcycles. That's part of the business I started up, and each year I was able to get their test bikes through them very cheap and then sell it the next year at a profit, which funded all of my riding. So, just that hard work and laying that foundation. And, we went 8 years without a holiday that didn't last more than 4 days. And that was the sacrifice we made to get to where we are today.
Mm. And so would you say if you were to go back to that time, you wouldn't change any of that?
I don't think so, no. There's some financial decisions within that, some small investments and things that I did that I would change. Mm-hmm. But the major decisions I wouldn't change because I've learnt so much. And Caitlin and I have been married 23 years this September. And we were married young. I was 24 and she was just about to turn 21. And that was another advantage we had in getting ahead, is that we were married young and we were committed to each other. And the fact that we've been married that long, we've just, we've got a 9-year-old, and now we've got it was our youngest, and now we have a 4-month-old. And we feel like we're blessed in that. And that's what she always wanted, a 5th kid, and I couldn't hold that back. So to have a great relationship with my wife after all these years, why would you go back and risk changing something?
Well, I feel the same way because, my story is very unique in that I have a health condition, but Carrie and I were 21 when we got married. We had our 10th anniversary 11 days ago as we're recording this. And
wow.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy to think that, but because I had such a crazy health condition, I'm so glad that I built a foundation like that of my relationship when I was 21 and earlier. We started dating at 19. But I just knew. You just know. And the thing is that when the tough times came, the relationship stuff was sorted. Do you know what I mean? And I've thought about it because I've got some friends who are, in their 30s and they're still single, plenty of them. And there's no criticism or anything or judgment or anything, but I just think like if I was them and I got sick at 26 and all of a sudden couldn't work anymore and couldn't do this, I don't think I would be able to go out. Like I didn't leave the house for years basically at my worst point, except for work, except for do the bare essentials. Like I didn't even go to Coles or Woolies or anything for a long time. Carrie used to do all that. And I was like, I don't think I could have found that relationship. And obviously that's a very extreme health condition that most people don't have. But there is something to that, like that before the tough times come, to build a foundation. And I'm with you in that. Like I'm glad that I've built the family stuff before the money stuff. And it's, you wouldn't trade the other. You wouldn't trade it the other way.
Well, I've seen so many families where, good friends of ours and wonderful people, but, they focus so much on work and setting up for the family. And by the time that they're set up, their lives are so expensive to facilitate that they're not there anyway. because they've been drawn into, you know, that world where houses and cars are status symbols. I mean, I'm still driving my 2008 Subaru Outback, which was my company car with Nava, that I took with
Yeah.
me in exchange for the annual leave I was owed. And that thing's still going like a train. And, you know, people say, why don't you get a new car? I don't care.